Hi, everyone, and welcome to our final vlog for the year of 2019. We are so happy to have you here today. I'm Leslie Boggs, your president-elect, and I am so happy to have with us today our special guest, Marques Ivey. He is our Vice President of Advocacy, and what better person to be with us today as we talk about not only the importance of advocacy, but also the importance of your leadership journey. So, Marques, tell us about advocacy. Why is it so important for our state leaders to really understand and communicate the importance of being an advocate?
Well, thank you and hi. The importance of advocacy, it's how the people speak. I guess to put it in simplest terms, you want change, you want things to occur, you have to raise your voice. If you don't use your voice, no one knows and people will make decisions for you. So advocacy is how you get yourself to the table. Advocacy is how you get things changed. And the importance of advocacy can never be underestimated.
And when we talk about utilizing our voice, and when you talk to individuals about really learning about how to advocate, it takes a lot of research.
It does.
And so we don't really want you to take our word for it, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
We want you to really do some research, look at our resources, and really come up to your conclusions and have those critical conversations.
Absolutely. I think if you don't do the research, then you're just doing what someone tells you, and you may not actually end up believing it. So I think it's best for you to do your research to make sure that it fits with well within your heart, well within the things that you believe in. And I think you have to start that way.
Right. And it's all about your passion, right? Your passion in leadership, your passion in being a part of our association, PTA. And so that really leads us into our leadership lesson today. And that's about, we've started your leadership journey and the importance of continuing your journey. And why is that? Why do you think that's important for you to continue a leadership journey of learning and growing? Why do you think?
Well, number one, it's important for the first reason is that you never stop learning and you can always become a better leader. And I think if you just decided that I've reached the top, you're going to miss some opportunities. And I think you're going to miss opportunities to make yourself better or to learn. And so I think you have to continue on that journey, no matter what, because it may lead you to something else, something different, where you're able to utilize those skills that you've learned and that you'll continue to learn.
And you are so right. And one of the key, I think, quotes that I really saw that jumped out to me was one from Ben Franklin, and it said, "To succeed, jump as quickly at opportunities as you do at conclusions." So it's really important that you understand the opportunities before you and take advantage of them, even if you're a little bit afraid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we are a little bit afraid
Yes.
of advocate. I mean, because when we talk about going and talking to senators and representatives, we're kind of afraid of that first step. So what would be your leadership lesson to those that this is their first time to advocate or to use their voice?
Well, first of all, what I would say is take the plunge. I mean, nothing bad is going to happen because you're coming in there prepared. You've had the opportunity to take some classes. You had some opportunity to speak to the other people who are also here on this same journey and listen to them. Take the advice, but I think you just have to just do it. It's okay to go first. That's how I learned. My first time, I was told, you're going to make the opening statement. Okay. And I think you just have to do it. And I think that's the best way to start, is just do it. Because once you do it, you probably don't want to stop.
That's true. It really lights that fire within you. And it's really important that all of you as state presidents and first-time presidents also understand that your leadership journey is not a selfish move. It really is about you and your ability to empower others, because when you really start with yourself, you really gain from experience. It gives you confidence, it gives you integrity, and it also gives you experience. And so from that, then you can really spread that to others within your community.
Absolutely.
So very, very important as a leader. And so we hope that you not only continue from these vlogs, but to go back and listen to them when you have an opportunity, to take advantage of those opportunities that we're going to give at convention.
Absolutely.
Because we're going to have plenty of opportunities for you to engage in, and to think about your own conventions and maybe the opportunities that you've learned from us that you can actually have within your own states, councils, and regions about how to better enable others to also be great leaders. And so therefore we'll start filling all those vacant positions on our state boards and councils.
Oh,
very important.
So important. to fill those positions because it gives you the ability to see, is this something I want to do? And I guarantee you it'll light the fire because our purposes are pure, they're real. It's about the children, it's about the child. So absolutely, fill them up.
It is. It's really, really important that you take advantage of that. So your leadership lessons need to start early, and they need to start now and today. So don't put off tomorrow what you can really gain today. It's really important for you to take advantage of every opportunity. And a lot of you are afraid of being that advocate because this is the first time probably you've come to legislative conference, or it's the first time that you've had to speak to a senator or a representative. But you know what? We have the resources to make that happen, don't we?
We have so many resources that it's not even funny. I mean, the work that's been put in, and it's not only by the staff, but it's by the leaders as well, the volunteer leaders just like you, just like us. The work that's been put on to make sure that this is a success, and to make sure that you have everything you need to move forward and succeed.
It is true. And so as we go through and we talk about really advocating and learning our leadership lessons today, we're going to talk about advocacy. And there's no better person to talk to us about that than Marques. And he's very much a humble servant leader. He doesn't really talk about that much, but he is also president of his school board, and he is an attorney. So he's got a very wide breadth of experience that he's going to share with us today. And so as we talk not only about advocacy, but hopefully you'll share with us some of the lessons that you've learned in your positions that you hold today. And so we're very, very excited to have you here today. So Marques, tell us, why do you think advocacy is so important in furthering the mission of PTA?
Yeah, I think advocacy is the most important thing. And I don't use that lightly. It's just that we know that 122 years ago, when those wonderful women started this association, their goals right off the bat was to fight, to advocate for those children who didn't have a voice at that time. And so it is extremely important. And so for 122 years, and hopefully another 122 years more, we'll continue to be the leader in child advocacy, whether it's for technology in the future, whether it's for advocating for those who are in the system. That's what we do. And so it's important because if no one had ever said a thing, where would we be today? Would we have school lunches? Would we have vaccinations? Would we have kindergarten? Probably not.
That's true. That is very true.
And so even though those things occurred in the past, we're still leading the way forward. And we have to continue to do this. We have to continue to advocate if we want our students and our children to have a future.
And that's very true. And I think that all ties back into our association. We're very different.
Absolutely.
And that we are a membership association. And so that ties into our membership being that voice, right? For children that don't have a voice.
That's it.
And that's why we need to have everyone join. And so as you go back and you really talk to your leaders about the importance of advocacy and their voice, the membership ties right into that. And what are the key lessons that sometimes you can help in your own community? When you talk about community efforts, you're on your school board. What's happening that they could also help in their own communities?
Well, school board, that's usually a volunteer, I say job because it is a job. That's volunteer as well. And that's a great way to get yourself involved. I volunteered and ran for the school board, I think, because number one, I have 3 children in the public school system. They will graduate as public school graduates. I have a wife who teaches in the public school system. And so me as a parent wanting to be more involved, wanting to help shape the future, not only my children, but the other children, the children in the whole district, was so important to me because I got that fire from here. It started at the local level of PTA, then the state level, on to national level, so that fire burns. And so one way that you all can get involved is look at school board. But if you don't want to run, you can also join committees. There are committees attached to the school board where you can be a part of, where you can discuss things such as finances. You can discuss things such as mental health. You can discuss things such as violence and protecting the school. And so those are ways that you can get involved and really have an impact, because your voice as a parent or as a family member is extremely important.
It really, really is. And I know in every community it's different. So as you go and you visit your child's school, what are you seeing? I know as a leader, I've gone into several communities, and even within my own, I walked into a school last year, and the principal looked at me and he said, we have a problem with our water in our school. And I said, well, what do you mean you have a problem with your water? And he said, we can't drink the water in our school. Our filtering system's not working. I went, well, what do you mean it's not working? He said, we have no money to fix it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, what do you mean? And so then there came the time to have a voice and really advocate for that change. And why do we not have funding for our school systems where children have good water? Our teachers have good water to drink. The fundamental things that you think are there within a school sometimes are not there. And it takes this PTA voice, these
Absolutely.
parents' voices, to make all of that happen. So your voice really matters, doesn't it?
Extremely. And that right there is a perfect opportunity for the PTA to be involved. This is what we do.
So as we look at that in our communities, and so when we think about us as state president-elects and first-year state presidents, what can we do to help our community leaders and our local leaders to become more effective in their advocacy efforts? Are there things that we should be doing at our conventions that will help them, or in our leadership trainings that will help them become better? What can we do?
Well, I definitely think as you said, president-elect, you have to start your message. And I think you have to start your message not to encompass, but to start your message that connects with the current president and start getting your message out. And your message should be, we want to build a coalition. We want to be cohesive. We want to be a team. We want to make sure that we continue the momentum that we've already built and continue that momentum forward. And so I think at the conventions, you have to start having those discussions with your membership. And in other words, allow your membership to speak their piece, to have a voice, to be a part of this conversation, and to literally take notes, write them down with pen and paper, not necessarily an iPad, but write them down with pen and paper and display them and have conversations about them that are real. Not this superficial, okay, I see what you mean. No, have a conversation to ask, how do we accomplish this? And you do that as a group. And when you do that, I believe as a president-elect, you are starting to set the tone that you are going to be inclusive and not exclusive. And I think that's really the key, is to be inclusive and to bring in as many stakeholders as you possibly can to the fold.
And so I think what you said is really, really important, in the value of listening to both sides.
Absolutely.
You may not agree. And there are going to be times that there's going to be a pretty heated debate, I'd assume.
If it would not be uncomfortable, if everything was just agreeable, something may not be right.
And so, and that's my caution. If everybody is rubber stamping everything, then there's something wrong. It always makes me uncomfortable when everybody's in agreement, because then I worry I'm not hearing something, and then there's chatter in the back room. And so it's really important that you do hear and you have those crucial conversations, that you can all listen and learn together and come to a better conclusion.
Absolutely. Yeah. And listening, that is the most important rule that I learned as a first-time school board president. That's what I learned really becoming a VP of Advocacy. That's what I learned being a local president and moving up through the state. Listen. If you listen, hear, and then make sure you repeat what you heard so we can make sure we're all on the same page, and then execute. Absolutely. Nothing more important.
Very key lessons for a leader. Great. So when we talk, we've gone from local to state, now to national. So share with us about our public policy agenda.
Well, our agenda seemingly changes every year, but that's because the circumstances change every year. But even though it changes, there are always some core pieces in our legislation that is so important. And number one is always funding. We're always pushing for more funding. Unfortunately, funding hasn't increased in some 2 decades. And so we still have to consistently and constantly push for funding. But I think there's other parts of our public policy agenda that are important. We're sitting at a table. That's because we're at the table when we're talking. In other words, we want you as parents, as family members, as state leaders, to get to the table. And so there's things that the federal government has in front of them that we're mandated to do. ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act. Funding our educational centers to get parents to the table, to be a part of the discussion, to not simply be on the menu as that terminology goes, but to truly be a part of the discussion. We're also talking about, within our public policy agenda, basically creating safe environments at the school. Now that goes toward violence and things of that nature, but also most importantly, getting mental health services to our students. Unfortunately, public schools have always had to be the jack of all trades. And we have to be good at it. So we have to bring in those people who can help with mental health issues, behavioral issues, but as well as learning issues as well. So those are two very urgent aspects of our public policy agenda that we need to stay focused on.
I do too, and it would be great if we could have a one-shot deal where we could solve all the problems with it.
That'd be awesome.
It's just a bigger picture.
It is.
And safe schools are a huge issue, and mental health really is one crucial component of that conversation.
And there's other parts of it too. Now, I don't want that to seem like that's the only one. We understand there's a world of things, but those are two key factors, I think, that are important.
Right. And so it's really important, even as we are here in April when this blog is being available to all of you, the policy is probably still changing.
Absolutely.
So it's very, very important that you stay tuned with us, listen to us, and make sure that you also communicate with your representatives and senators and let them know still how you feel and what you are listening and learning at home and communicating that effectively with those individuals. So as we go forward, we want you to know that we have lots of tools, right?
Yes, we do.
Available for you. We are going to make it as easy as we can for you. So could you share some of those?
Yes, Leslie, that is the goal, is for you, state leaders, district leaders, council leaders, local leaders. Don't reinvent the wheel. You don't have to. I can almost guarantee, I don't bet, but if I was a betting man, I can almost guarantee if there was something out there that you've encountered, whether it's at your local or council level, that we have something that addresses it. So we have position statements and resolutions. If you're interested in knowing things about what you should do in terms of elections, we have election guides out there. But most importantly, you can go to pta.org/advocacy or pta.org/take action. There are a multitude of tools that you can access and look at and review. As always, one of the great things, and to me what is the most one, of course I'm VP of Advocacy, is advocacy training. This is what we do. We get to train you and give you the ability and the tools to go out there and be that voice, to go out there and be a strong advocate for your school, your student, and all students. And so those are just a few of the tools that we have, but I guarantee you, if you click on just pta.org advocacy, you'll be overwhelmed with the number of tools and the things that you have available. But we also have staff that are professional, that are well versed in these things. Utilize the staff as well, but also utilize the volunteer leaders as well. That's what we're here for. We are here to help so that you don't have to sit there and struggle and wonder, has this ever been done before? Probably has.
Probably has. We have a great network, don't we?
Absolutely.
And whenever you talk about really making things easy, so you've got a brand new person here at conference that's never been spoken to a senator before. What would you tell them? Give them an example of how they would talk to someone.
Well, first of all, I would, if I had the ability to meet them before they went and met the senator, I would probably quiz them. Just talk to me. Just start a conversation with them. And at the end of that conversation, I would say, see, that's exactly how easy it is. How was your day today? Was the flight? Was it rough? Oh, turbulence. Oh, my God. Don't like turbulence. You get a conversation going, and then you realize that it's easy to go from there to here. So when you go meet with that senator, understand that they are just like you. And you being a voting constituent within their state, believe me, they need to hear from you. They want to hear from you. And in fact, studies have shown that those in-person discussions actually has more value because they're face-to-face. And so I think with that new person, you sit down with them and you tell them, just go introduce yourself, say, hi, my name is Marques Ivey. I live in Aurora, Colorado. I am one of the folks that voted for you, or didn't vote for you. That's okay to say that as well. But I live in your state. And here's 5 things that I'd like to discuss with you today. Is it okay if I take some notes about what you say as well? I want to make sure that I take it back to my network of people who are also voters within your state and that are interested in what you have to say. I think short, simple, and sweet always gets it done. You don't have to be nervous, but if you are, that's okay. Because they just individuals just like you before they got voted in. And I think if you realize that they're just like you, then let that passion for advocacy come forth. Because I guarantee when you start speaking about those 3 or 5 things that you have listed, you're going to get into the groove. And I've seen it happen countless times.
Right. And when you've got a really good group together and you're advocating together, find the one that really hones to you and makes really hits to your passion, and speak to that one. You don't have to do it all. You've got a group, right? You're going to have a group around you. You're going to support each other, and you're really going to make that voice louder. And just remember, even if it's someone that's not really supporting what you're doing.
Correct.
We are a nonpartisan association.
That's right.
But what we need is for them to understand that everyone needs to work together. We need to get back to the society where we have a group of congressmen who know how to work together through, especially supporting education. So that's the big message. Let's all learn to work together, right?
Absolutely.
It's the only way we're going to move forward in the future.
It's the only way. Education is not political. Education is about the future of our children to make sure that we can compete on the global stage. So it's not about politics. It's about securing their futures and the futures after theirs.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Honored to
very
be
much.
here.
And what I want to leave you with, as far as, normally I give you homework, but I'm not really going to do that. But I'm going to give you some food for thought on your leadership journey from here. Think about where you're going and what you need to accomplish. Think about what you want to accomplish and start it today. Don't start it tomorrow, because sometimes tomorrow never happens, right?
That's right. That's absolutely
not a guarantee. Mm-hmm. So let's think about what we want to do today and how we get there. And I want you to think about the big picture, but I want you to take small steps. Mm-hmm. So, and why do we do that? I want you to think about, because that makes you prioritize, and that makes you think about planning more succinctly for where you want to go and how you want to be engaging others in your community. And so we've so much enjoyed being here today with you. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Any parting thoughts or anything that you'd like to share?
Keep advocating. Keep raising your voice. Never stop. We can't afford to. No,
we can't. And that's one big thing about PTA is we are really here about engaging not only for today, but for the future of our nation and our children. And just remember, there's lots of things going on in your leadership journey along with the book series, and that's been great. It's really been engaging to see everyone and their thoughts on position as we move forward. So I encourage you, if you've not engaged in that discussion, to take a part in that. It's always fun to hear how everyone's first position in PTA, right, how it's moved them forward and their thoughts of that. Just know that at convention, we're also going to have a great speaker. Her name is Sherry Hartley, and she is author of How You Can Say Anything to Anyone and founder of Candid Culture. So she's going to talk to us about board development, financial trends, parliamentary procedure, and advancing family engagement. She is supposed to be one of the most really engaging speakers we've had. So I look forward to having her, and I know you will as well. So in the meantime, join me and hopefully Marques, if he can make time.
I intend to be there.
We'll have a call on Wednesday, May 8th at 1 or at 7 Eastern Time for our next Power Up Networking call. We look forward to really engaging all of you about what you've learned today, about questions you have on advocating and using your voice,
absolutely, as
well as your next steps in your leadership journey. So please join us. We look forward to seeing you. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day today.
Have a good day.